Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
First of all, I don't think the economy is going south. I think it's going north. And I think that there's a bunch of indicators. Let me focus on that. I know something about that. You're in a housing boom right now. You're in a retail sales boom right now. You're in an auto car boom right now. Manufacturing, look at the ISM indexes, all are booming. New business applications are skyrocketing. Apple Mobility Index is very strong. And the jobs picture remains strong.
I don't know where Larry Kudlow's at. Depends on where you are, right? Real unemployment's probably right around 21%. It means 80% of us have a gig. Doesn't mean 80% of us are safe. Doesn't mean 80% of us are thriving. I don't want you to come on and say it's the end of the world, because I don't think it is. But really, like that's some issues right there. And it also depends where you are in the country and where you are in the midst of this pandemic. Are you at the beginning? Are you at the middle? Or have you already gone through your pandemic chaos and craziness?
Continuing claims, which is going to predict the July jobs number out in a week or so, are the lowest they've been in almost 3 months. I don't buy it. Now, I will acknowledge in some of these spiking hot spots, yes, absolutely, you're going to see a moderation of this recovery, no question. On the other hand, apart from Texas, Arizona, and Florida and California, where, by the way, Deborah Burke says there's some signs of stabilization. The whole Northeast is over.
Right.
Most of the Midwest is, the whole Northeast is open, most of the Midwest.
Yeah, apart from 3 of the biggest states, Texas, Florida, California. Massive. By the way, Arizona, last 3-4 years, no one place to move. Jobs were massive, booming everywhere. So apart from those 3 or 4, things are awesome. Just kicking butt. Now, the battle begins of what happens next when it comes to the stimulus. What I've been saying is they're going to send out another check, and they're probably going to have the stimulus money of federal unemployment that's been coming to people, and I understand why they're doing that.
June retail sales were 1% higher than June of last year. So all that money we pumped into the economy, it worked. People went out and spent. As it relates to the unemployment insurance, again, I think workers and Americans understand the concept that you shouldn't be paid more to stay home than to work, that the fair thing is to replace wages, and it just wouldn't be fair to use taxpayer dollars to pay more people to sit home than they would get working and get a job.
If they can get a job, better yet, if they can return to their work. Because let's remember, there's a lot of people out there in certain parts of the country that their place is closed for whatever reason. It's a bar, whatever it is. They're told, hey, you know what? We're shut down. We can't open. The state says we can't open. So there's not a lot we can do about it. Out here where I am in Arizona, guess what? Huge tourism side of things. Right? So we got a big service industry that is over the last 100+ days just been decimated. Can't get jobs. And if they do get a job, guess what happens? We opened up, and within 4 weeks, we're closed back down again. No, we shouldn't incentivize people to stay home, but I think we need to be very vigilant and understand how this thing is affecting people. You're not going to make everybody happy, but we've got to do the smart thing without overdoing it.
Unemployment insurance. This is so unfair. Let's just get to the heart of it. At the point of all of this is this president, I have a new name for him, Mr. Make Matters Worse. He has made matters worse from the start. Delay, denial, it's a hoax, it'll go away magically, it's a miracle, and all the rest. And we're in this situation, so it makes matters worse.
By the way, has he said, at times it's going to go away? Let's not pretend that he hasn't. Has he hinted at that it's a hoax? He has, in some ways, absolutely. Has he made some stuff? I don't know if he's made things worse. And people always say, the reality is there's no game plan for this. So if you leave it to the states and the states fail, who's that on? Why is that on Trump? California? New York? Florida? Texas? Arizona? Who's that on? Is it on your governors? And let's remember, California was really locked down for that first 80 days plus. They got into it and they locked it down and they thought they had gotten through this. And then there has been a spike in the last 3-4 weeks. And it's growing. Uninsurement. They want to continue to make sure that the stimulus goes through, that the people that are struggling, who are unemployed, have their insurance paid out with the $600 federally a week. I don't think that's just possible. Sorry. Let's not disincentivize people to go back to work. Let's incentivize them, but you've got to look at it in a way that's real. You can't just rip the Band-Aid off with nothing. I think at this point, because it's still here and the way that we're going is it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So we're going to have to figure out how we slowly ease back into, I'm not going to say what we were doing pre-coronavirus, but slowly ease our way back into where we were, say, March, February, depending on where you are in the country, getting ourselves back to where people are mostly working. People are out there busting their butts, social distancing there. But it's not just whether or not it's here or not. Think about the psychology of you all. And that's a real thing. The psychology. People are afraid to spend money. Why are they afraid to spend money? They don't know if they're going to have a job next week. They don't know if they're going to have a job next week. Small businesses are afraid that, hey, I'm open, I'm closed, I'm open, I'm closed. I can't continue to do this. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then you've got the other side of it, which is the health side, which people are afraid. Some people are afraid. I don't want to get this. I can't get this. Just cannot get this. So they're not going out. They're not spending money. Speaking of the virus itself, Dr. Gottlieb on the vaccine.
I didn't fully understand the announcement in that press release. Moderna is using the money that they're getting to expand the size of the clinical trial. But I had thought already that trial was going to be a 30,000 patient trial. I had thought that was mentioned somewhere. The government was intimating that at the very least. There had been some public statements around trials that size. And so perhaps Moderna was aiming to do a smaller trial, now expanded it. The press release was a little unclear in that regard.
It started today. The 30,000 person trial kicked off today. But here's the thing about the vaccine, and Dr. Gottlieb spells it all out.
These vaccines don't look like they're going to create sterile immunity. It looks like they're going to reduce your chances of getting COVID, the disease, or COVID pneumonia. So like the flu vaccine, they'll reduce the incidence of severe outcomes, but they're not going to prevent you from getting the infection 100%. And there's still going to be people who break through and get severe disease, even though they've been vaccinated, much like you see with the flu vaccine each year. And so therapeutics is still going to be important.
Yeah. Not going to prevent it from, it's not going to be 100%. So let's say it's 50%. That's good. So 50% of people, in theory, that get it are going to not get it. Some people may still get it. Some people will get it still in a bad way. I've been saying the last 6-8 weeks, this looks and feels more endemic than pandemic. Endemic means it's here. It's kind of like the flu, except it doesn't seem to be seasonal. Doesn't mean that can't change, but the reality is it feels like it's here. It's not going anywhere. So what do we have to do? We have to look around and find out, how do we live with it and around it without allowing it to rule our lives?
This coronavirus is not going to automatically go away. It's not going to go away until we get a vaccine. No one believes we'll have a vaccine sooner and available sooner than the end of the year or early next year. So in the meantime, we all need to work together to do something really simple, like wearing a mask and practicing social distancing.
It's not hard. I mean, I practice it by nature anyways, but it's not hard just to do some smart things. And when you hear people who overdo stuff, who are ridiculous, and it's just frustrating. Like it sucks. We're all in this thing, right? It sucks. We're in this thing. It's not going anywhere. We can do a few different things. We can either pull in the same direction, right? We can row in the same direction, or we can fight amongst ourselves and continue to see this thing floundering around. It's not going anywhere, but we don't need to make it worse, which is what we tend to do because we make everything political because we're idiots. Jeez. Drives me crazy. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program. Hope you had a fun, solid weekend. Oh, my Lord. Purple. Slept great. Had a couple good naps over the weekend. Did a bunch of stuff. Golfed a little bit. Definitely fun. But those naps are delicious, and my sleeps at night are amazing. And the thing I love about it is it's just how cool it is. That's what I just love. I love how cool I sleep, because I used to have trouble sleeping really, really hot. Now I sleep extremely comfortable and cool. That's where Purple comes in. They've got this patented technology, 2,800 open-air channels and naturally temperature-neutral gel. This grid is amazing with Purple. It really is. Soft where you want it, firm where you need it, comfortable all over. You're going to absolutely love this. Now, how about this? 100-night free trial, risk-free. Free shipping, free returns. Never going to sink, never going to lose shape. Pennies a day for as long as this thing lasts. Purple's done it right. They put technology into sleeping, and you're going to experience the next evolution of sleep. Go to purple.com/Benson. Use promo code Benson for a limited time, $150 off any Purple mattress order of $1,500 or more. That's purple.com/Benson. Promo code Benson for that $150 off. Terms apply. Chad Benson Show.
I, you, he, she, it. Lucy is a girl.
Point of personal privilege. Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Shut up, boo. Ain't nobody got time for this.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
Regis Philbin and Kelly Ripa.
Regis Philbin was one of television's most well-known performers, who in early 2011 surprised his audience by saying,
"This will be my last year on this show."
Philbin's co-host on Live, Kelly Ripa, once said this about Regis.
People feel like they know him. He's like the neighbor next door.
Although Philbin was a star on daytime TV for many years, he also conquered primetime as the host of ABC's hit game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, making
final answer
a national catchphrase.
Yeah. So we had 3 over the weekend. 4, if you count, was it Peter Green? It was one of the co-founders of Fleetwood Mac. Very interesting. I was reading an article about him. You know, everybody talks about what a great guitarist. You know, Clapton said everybody talked about him. But when they started Fleetwood Mac and they started to be big, he's like, we need to give all of our money away. And Mick Fleetwood's like, no. No, that's not why I'm doing this. So, but John Saxon died, and Olivia de Havilland, who 104 years old, is very interesting. She and her sister, people don't know this, they each won Academy Awards. Olivia de Havilland was the final survivor of Gone with the Wind. She died at 104 years old. She lived for the last, 50, 60 years back in France. But when her sister won for the Academy Award, they were at the same table. She didn't acknowledge her sister. When she won, she didn't acknowledge her sister. And they said they're just two different people. Never really got along. Didn't like each other when they were little. Didn't care much for each other. It's kind of an odd thing. Just a weird thing. But, yeah, Regis. So we had 3. John Saxon, of course, of Enter the Dragon fame and many other things, including being the person who killed Freddy Krueger that made Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program. To school or not to school, the debate is on what to do about schools and testing.
We are looking at going back to school within a matter of weeks. I have been talking to people about testing. I know people who have been waiting weeks for results. I know LabCorp told FT this week that it's taking about 4 to 6 days for people to get results. You said they're basically useless unless you get them within 3 days. Do you have to fix this before we can open schools safely?
I think you do. I think one of the things you need to look at in a local community is whether or not you can get test results, because if you can't get test results back in a timely fashion, you really don't have a way to detect whether there's an outbreak in the community or in the school.
Which is Dr. Gottlieb again, which is so real. It is insane the amount of people I've talked to who are waiting insane hours. One person we talked to, so she went on a Friday. She got her test. And they said it'll take about 3 days to get it back. 3 to 4 days. She said, okay, cool. So she called up on Tuesday and she says, well, what's up with my test? She goes, oh, you still have 3 or 4 days. He goes, what do you mean? So, well, Friday doesn't count. Saturday and Sunday doesn't count. Your first day, if you will, is Monday. So you're going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you're over a week. And some people are waiting even longer. And if you're going to send kids back to school, it's not, again, so much about the kids. It's about the spread and can we contain it, because it's about the teachers and the administration when it comes to the children. Because I think most people, scientists, are of agreement that whether they agree that whether or not they can spread it, when you look at the numbers globally, the flu is still more dangerous than this.
And while we do need to lean forward and try to open our schools because it's important to children, we need to prevent outbreaks from happening in those schools. We can't just let infection run rampant inside the schools. And having good testing in place is going to be a critical tool. I talked to the CEO of LabCorp yesterday. They've gotten caught up. They're doing about 175,000 tests a week. They're going to be returning test results maybe within 2 or 3 days right now. Hopefully Quest will get caught up as well. But if we do have other major epidemics, other major hotspots emerge, the testing system can become strained again.
Yeah. Now, we are testing more than anybody else, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't work. Meaning it doesn't matter if we test, we're like, oh, we've tested 50 million people. So you test 50 million people, but only 30 million of those get their test back in a timely manner. Here in Arizona, we have a 60,000 people backlog of tests that are inside refrigerators waiting to go out. That's not a winning formula at all. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I think schools are going to allow most kids to do everything online at first, and I think they're going to play it by ear. I do. I think they're going to, and one thing we're not talking about is how school adapted to online, because if it's any indication of what took place last year, this is going to be a long year for parents. It is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This morning, thousands of patients across the country lining up for the nation's first large-scale vaccine trial.
There is some apprehension, nervousness.
Less than 2 weeks after publishing promising results from early testing, Moderna is heading into phase 3 of its trial, taking 30,000 volunteers and injecting them with what could be the first immunization against coronavirus.
Yeah, so 30,000 people roll into phase 3. What? How good will it be? How much is it going to protect? Is it going to give us full protection for X amount of months? Is it going to give us full protection for a year? Is it going to give some of us full protection and some of us some protection, and some people out there, just like the flu shot, it may not protect you at all? That's always a possibility. And then when all is said and done, how long?
We're talking late this year, next year, before the FDA can make this adjudication.
Translation, next year, early next year or late this year, they could approve it. And then it's the let's roll it out to God knows how many people, depending on which one it is. Is there going to be a few? I have a feeling, this is just me, I have a feeling there is going to be probably 2 that will roll out late this year, early next. And then the price?
We and other companies have said that the pandemic is not a time where we intend to use kind of the price as a way to do anything but increase supplies.
There you go. That is Nubar Fenya talking about it. Got to get out to 1 billion plus people, plus, get this thing out there. So we'll see. We'll see. But today they kick it off. Away it rolls. Opportunities abound. Hopes, prayers, on this. 30,000 people will be getting it today in the next couple days. And then you're going to get a lot of people are going to get the placebo. The way this thing rolls out is some people, half of them will get the actual shots. The other half will get placebo. They'll match the two up if all goes well in the next coming months. By the end of this year, early next, we will have a vaccine to at least fight, if it doesn't eliminate, at least fight the severe symptoms of the coronavirus so we can start getting back to the normalish way of life. Speaking of that, Antifa doing what Antifa does over the weekend, chaos, craziness. I'm not quite sure what day we're in. My assumption is we're in day whole bunch. Kind of feels like it.
Explosions, flashbangs, tear gas, a protester tackled. The situation in Portland growing more tense. And police making a disturbing discovery, finding a stash of ammunition and Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, that's not good. But don't worry, though. It's not Antifa, right, Jerry Nadler?
It is true. There's violence across the whole country. Do you disavow the violence from Antifa that's happening in Portland right now? There's riots.
That's a myth that's being spread only in Washington, D.C.
About Antifa in Portland?
Yes.
Sir, there's videos everywhere online. There's fires and riots. They're throwing fireworks at federal officers. DHS is there. Look online.
Antifa's a myth.
Yeah, Antifa's a myth in Portland. Meanwhile, the whole city is on fire, and they're trying to burn down the courthouse.
Yeah, Antifa's a myth. Look, I can look around and say there's a lot of things that may be myths. Antifa's not one of them. They're everywhere. They talk about it, right? The Bugaloos and all of these people, those aren't myths. How big are they? You can debate that. Friday, the federal judge came down and sided with the feds, said, hey, feds, you guys don't roust people off the streets that aren't doing anything. And they're like, we're not. And allow the media to do what the media does. They said, we are. But you guys can stay. And it was a blow for Oregon because they thought they were going to get him out of there. But Oregon presented a weak case saying, well, they're taking people. And the federal judge said, okay, well, do you guys have any evidence? Well, I mean, they took these two and they put them in a van. Okay. You said it was people that were undercover. What was it? Well, they've got fatigues on it. It says police and there's their badge number. All right, well, that's not a good argument. So they're allowed to stay. It is ugly. It's not getting any better.
What's going on in Portland is very different than any other city across our country today. What we have in Portland is every night, again, between midnight and 5 a.m., you have anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000, upwards to 4,000 violent individuals targeting federal property, federal courthouse there in Portland, and federal law enforcement officers. They are arriving every night using city streets and city parks. They're coming armed with rocks, bottles, baseball bats, power tools, commercial-grade fireworks. That's very different than what's going on in Chicago, places like Chicago, Albuquerque.
Yeah, that is very different. Portland is different. You had ugliness again over the weekend in Seattle as well. It's so funny the way that they go about doing this. Look, I'm not quite sure what you want, Portland. I'm not. What I do know is whatever it is that you want, your leadership there is failing miserably.
President Trump and the administration, led by the Department of Justice, is targeting that type of crime regarding gangs and drug dealers. But again, Portland is very different. What we see in Portland is a city at certain hours of the night completely out of control. We see city leadership there has fostered an environment that allows these criminals to do this untouched, absolutely untouched. It's time for Portland to join other responsible cities around this country working with federal law enforcement to address this violence.
Yeah. Look, I'm not a fan of them being there, but you've lost the plot, Portland. I say let Portland do whatever Portland does. Everybody gets mad at me. No, we should be there. I've got zero problems with them being in Chicago because the Chicago police have helped. Even Lightfoot, the mayor, has said, hey, we're okay working with the feds when it comes to these gun problems and these gang problems. We've got zero problems with that. Some of the other stuff they don't want. Let Portland do what Portland does. This is why you need to have good leadership in place. And they don't have good leadership. And stop blaming the feds. It was going on 50 plus days before they got there. We're heading to day 60, I think, today. And this is an absolute mess. Seattle was a mess for how many weeks? Was that the Fed's fault? No, that is bad leadership. Speaking of that, Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan.
The president has also said that he's targeting cities led by Democratic mayors, and I think that's absolutely true. He is leveraging his power for his own purposes. Cities do need his help, and we've needed his help. We're going the wrong way in America. Instead of giving us the help he needs, he wants to set in federal forces and federal agents to escalate tensions. Not only do cities not need it, America doesn't need it. This is one of the most dangerous escalations. I was a federal prosecutor. I've never seen anything like this in my career.
Yeah, but did you, when you were a federal prosecutor and they said, hey, we've got a bunch of people that have taken over 6 blocks of a city, what do you think we should do? And you're like, it's a party. Let people have fun, right? We'll let them police themselves. It'll be great. Yeah, has he said some stuff about the Democratic cities? Yeah, that wasn't good. I wouldn't have done that. That's him. It's not me. It's him. In saying all of that, the reality is Seattle's a mess. Jenny Durkan there, the mayor, everything was a party and fun till the world started going, all right, you need to get control of yourself. And still they didn't do anything. And people kept pushing and saying, you guys really need to get control of this. Nothing still. Then eventually they marched to her house. And that's when she's like, we need to do something. The minute they show up on your door, guess what happens? Things change.
Federal agents are sent in, not with the cooperation of local law enforcement, but over their objection. It's unprecedented, and it's the wrong way to go. The fabric of America is being shredded before our eyes, and it worries me greatly.
Yeah, of course it was. And by the way, Chicago, they've asked for the help. You guys, you told, what are the police to do? You've told them you guys can't do anything. You guys should leave this place. Abandon it. Huh? Yeah, get out of here quick. And they did. And they allowed 6 blocks or so to be overrun up there, the Chop Chaz. Portland is a nightmare. This is real. People need to figure out what they want in their politics. You don't have to go uber crazy chaos right wing if you don't want to, but you can go a little bit more conservative Democrat than allowing people to just run your city from the time it goes dark to the time people wake up, to burn things down, to cause hell and havoc. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Major League Baseball. I watched a little bit of MLB over the weekend. I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted to see what it looks like. But now we've got issues with the coronavirus. Really weird. So the NBA right now has no issues with the coronavirus. NFL's had some issues, but they're just now getting underway. And most of the players are saying so far as they've gone into camp or into the facilities, it looks pretty good. Major League Soccer seems to be doing okay now that 2 of the teams they sent home because they weren't doing the things they were supposed to. NHL's only had, I think, 2 or 3 positives out of 800-plus players, but Major League Baseball, much different. Then you got the Marlins.
That is horrifying for Major League Baseball, that less than a week into the season, there could be an outbreak inside of one of their clubhouses, and trying to figure out where to go from here, how to handle that. You know, the operations manual that they have for the league is 113 pages. It does not cover what to do in the extent of a large outbreak.
Yeah. And it's weird watching the games anyways. But then you're thinking to yourself, well, what happens when you have an outbreak and you have only so many players? Because they're allowing, I believe it's 40 players, maybe. Could be wrong. So normally you get 25 players on a roster, but they're allowing like a taxi squad, which means there's no minor league, but you're going to have guys that can be brought up in and out really quick who are there training every day. It's just an odd situation. And the question is what happens?
There's a reason that every team has an alternate site with dozens up to 30 players. And in the Marlins case, theirs is in Jupiter, Florida, about 90 miles or so north of Miami. So it is conceivable that if the Marlins players, the major league players, were stuck in Philadelphia for the day, that the Marlins could theoretically ship an entire roster of players down to Miami and play them against the Baltimore Orioles. Would that happen? Probably not. But at this point, we don't know how things are going to operate, and we don't know how long the Marlins are going to be in Philadelphia.
And the Marlins are awful anyway, so it doesn't really matter who they send. They could send Phil, producer Phil, myself, producer Anthony, a couple other people. Couldn't be any worse. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter. Tweet at me. Text the program as well. Raycon's best earbuds around. Love them. So when I do my video stuff and I do all my stuff, I slap in my Raycons because that way I can I've got my other computer and laptop that I do all my editing on. It is just so amazing. Seamless Bluetooth pairing. Just incredible. The way they're built, the sound, the quality, there is nothing better. These E25s are incredible. And normally, I'd say you pay about $250 for earbuds like this. You're going to pay well over $100. So under $100, and I'm going to save you some money. I am. It's just talk about style and comfort. You're going to love these. 6 hours of talk time, that seamless Bluetooth pairing. The noise isolating fits great. Maybe you're taking a phone call, you're doing a video conference, whatever it is you're doing, guess what happens? You're going to hear the person on the other line. They get to hear you. No dangling wires, no stamps. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Check it out for yourself. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
It's being called the best album of Taylor Swift's career.
All along there was some invisible stream.
Swift releasing Folklore earlier this morning, a surprise album she wrote in self-isolation over the last 4 months. As a whole, it's sonically different than much of what we've heard before from the 10-time Grammy winner. There are no radio-friendly dance hits, but the 16 stripped-down folk pop songs deal with familiar Swift themes, including love and loss. Folklore is out now wherever you get your music.
Yeah, so I'm like, she was in lockdown. How many relationships can she have to make an album? Isn't that the way she does it normally? She dates somebody, she breaks up with them, then tells the world how much they suck. That's what I feel like is what she does. Sold 1.3 million units or whatever it is. Speaking of selling, Back in Black turned 40 over the weekend. 50 million albums sold. Soak that up for a second. 50 million albums. Producer Phil, do you know who produced the album? Come on now.
Mutt Lange.
Mutt Lange, that's right. Mutt produced it. 50 million albums. That is insane. Brian Johnson, the Geordie from the north of England, took over for Bon Scott after everybody said AC/DC's like, nah, and Bon Scott's mom's like, yeah, you guys this guy's a good dude. You guys need to carry on. And boom, away it went. Knocked it out the park. 50 million albums. It's not bad. It's not a bad album, considering people don't sell albums anymore. So that sounds like, it just sounds insane when you think about the fact that we just don't sell music and albums. Everything is pivoted to a different way of doing things. It's singles, it's downloads here and there. It's totally different than what you would think. And then Caddyshack turned 40 over the weekend, and today somebody else has a birthday.
Happy birthday, Bugs Bunny, the world's most famous rabbit's 80 years old Monday. Bugs made his debut in the 1940 animated short A Wild Hare, opposite his classic nemesis, Elmer Fudd.
What's up, Doc? There's a rabbit down there.
Bugs Bunny since appeared in hundreds of cartoons and specials. He was the first cartoon to get his own postage stamp and remains a beloved cultural icon to this day.
What a maroon. What an ignoramus.
Yeah. Voice for years was the greatest of all, many people say, voice actors when it comes to cartoons. I love Mel Blanc. Feel the Dawes Butler was better, but that's just me, being a guy who does voices.
There will never be another actor like him. What I missed most about the performance that Mel Blanc left behind was the amount of energy that he had. There's moments in cartoons where it's like,
he talks like this, right? But then he's like,
ooh, I'm dying! Like that weird stuff that doesn't even sound like Bugs. That's the stuff that as a kid I'd be like, whoa, where did that come from? And as a performer, like that's the stuff that I want to remind people of that was so great about Mel.
That's Eric Bazoo right there, who is the voice of Bugs. Does a hell of a job. I liked Mel. I read his book. He was a huge influence because I love doing voices, still do voiceovers. But Dawes Butler was my idol as a kid because he did all the Hanna-Barbera stuff, and I thought a lot of Bugs' stuff and a lot of what the Looney Tunes did was kind of very similar. You could hear it with Mel, as great as he was, but you go over and you listen to Dawes Butler, who was the voice of all these Hanna-Barbera characters, and they were just so totally different from one another. But it was still awesome, still amazing. Turns 80. Goodness me. Back in Black 40, Caddyshack 40. Oh, my Lord. Hey, if you wear a hat like that, you should get a free bowl of soup. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. It's not all doom and gloom, kids. Come on now, smile. It's a Monday. Let's take this by the horns and run with it. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We are going to be prepared on Monday to provide unemployment insurance extension that would be 70% of whatever the wages you were prior to being unemployed, that it would reimburse you for up to 70% of those wages.
Yeah, that's the battle that is can unemployment get done? That's what people are trying to figure out. Unemployment's huge, huge. Many of you that are unemployed, real unemployment, 20, 21%. Some of that will change as things calm down with the coronavirus. But for a lot of you, this has been not only a crappy year, potentially health-wise, definitely a crappy year outside of all of that because of the uncertainty based on this. And even if you're employed, there is a certain amount of uncertainty that's out there about will you be employed much longer? Can you keep your business open? Will your business even be allowed to stay open? So the Republicans, which there's a lot that I can hammer the Republicans for. I do not believe that they are the party they once were, but I don't think any of these parties are. I think they've all strayed away from their ideas and their ideals. It's very interesting because when you look at political parties, and I'm not a fan of the political party, I like the individual. But when you look at them, we judge it based on the person. But the reality, the ideals of those parties, those things are twisted and spun out and been hijacked. And the Republicans are not for small government. They're for just big government, anybody else. They spend, spend, spend. Now, granted, this is a crazy situation with the coronavirus, but it wasn't like they weren't spending before that. It's nuts. It is. And people are looking around state by state saying, all right, you gave us $600 a week to go with our state unemployment. Now that runs out on Friday. What are you going to do? Because more and more states are starting to say, well, we got to chop this thing down again because it's flaring up. So we better figure out how we're going to shut it down, but do the best that we can in keeping some industries going, at least partially.
June retail sales were 1% higher than June of last year. So all that money we pumped into the economy, it worked. People went out and spent. As it relates to the unemployment insurance, again, I think workers and Americans understand the concept that you shouldn't be paid more to stay home than to work, that the fair thing is to replace wages, and it just wouldn't be fair to use taxpayer dollars to pay more people to sit home than they would get working and get a job.
Steve Mnuchin, and he's right. He's right. We don't want to incentivize. When stuff started to reopen, there were places around the country, especially out here in the Southwest before it got bad again, where employers we're having a tough time filling some of these positions because people don't want to come back to work. They're making more money at home. It's not for everybody, but there was, for those of you on the right who think it's for everybody, that's not true, right? There were a lot of people out there that weren't making as much. And for those of you out there on the left who think it was only for a scant few, stop it. You're lying to yourself. It was for a lot of people. There are a lot of people out there who are making better money than they were before. Think about it. If you're a husband and wife and you were both laid off and you're in a place where you're getting $400 a week, I think the average is $385. And then you were getting that extra $600. So between you and your husband, your spouse, your partner, your whatever you want to call it, you guys are making 100 G's a year at that rate. And maybe you guys were making 65 grand a year. So yeah, it'd be tough to say, oh yeah, I can't wait to go back. So we don't want to incentivize, but we better figure something out. And we can't continue to print money the way we are. It's nuts. We need to figure out a way of doing this in a smart way. And I think the best thing is probably another stimulus check will go out. On top of that, a cutting, maybe a halving of the 600 down to 300. But we've got to get back at this in a smart way. And one of the things that's happening here is if you look around, the states that are being affected right now, Florida, huge state. Texas, massive state. California, the biggest state. Arizona, one of the fastest growing states. Especially when it comes to the economy. People added to Maricopa County, Pinal County out here over the last several years and the booming industries that were coming here. You're talking about 4 big job-driving states that are struggling right now because of the coronavirus. So you've got to be smart in the way that you do this. But at some point in time, I think we do have to cut ties. We have to pull that Band-Aid. But I don't think it's at this point in time now. I think what we do is we have it. We go on for another 60 days, maybe 90, and then that's it, unless this thing is so out of control that everybody's living at home. And at that point in time, what are we going to do? Speaking of the virus itself, guess what's happening today?
This morning, thousands of patients across the country lining up for the nation's first large-scale vaccine trial.
There is some apprehension and nervousness.
Less than 2 weeks after publishing promising results from early testing, Moderna is heading into phase 3 of its trial, taking 30,000 volunteers and injecting them with what could be the first immunization against coronavirus.
And that's good. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. That's what we want to see. This thing hopefully will start to move to the point where we're looking around and saying, all right, here we go. Let's get to that point where we're feeling like this is that we've got some true, real hope of getting a vaccine that will get us rocking and rolling. Here's the thing. How good is it going to be, Dr. Gottlieb?
These vaccines don't look like they're going to create sterile immunity. It looks like they're going to reduce your chances of getting COVID, the disease, or COVID pneumonia. So like the flu vaccine, they'll reduce the incidence of severe outcomes, but they're not going to prevent you from getting the infection 100%. And there's still going to be people who break through and get severe disease, even though they've been vaccinated, much like you see with the flu vaccine each year. And so therapeutics is still going to be important.
Yeah. So we still haven't found that therapeutic yet. The therapeutic that, because what we're using now, remdesivir and the steroid stuff, that is usually when you're in the hospital and it's getting worse. So that's an expansion. You know, you're gonna use that as an expansion onto the things you're already using inside of the hospital. It is not pre-hospital. Where the stuff that we have now for, you know, the Theraflus and all of this other stuff that they can even give you that is prescription-based, those things are pre-hospital. The stuff we're using right now is pretty much based only in the hospital. So we don't have that. And this thing isn't going to be perfect. It isn't. It's going to be good, potentially, but not perfect. Not 100%, which is what I think people are hoping for. Can we get to that 100% mark? No, I don't think so. 50% would be great. But I don't know. I don't think any of us know until we see. And what are the true, when you look at this, what is that true, side effects going to be? Because last week we touched on it, that the side effects, the media has kind of glossed over a bit of the side effects, and there have been some. Nobody's dropped dead because of it. Nobody's exploded because of it. They didn't grow a third arm because of it. But there have been some issues that maybe, just maybe, people have kind of glossed over, if you will. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us, text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. Continue to do so. Oh, my Lord. HelloFresh. I pigged out. I had my HelloFresh. And it's weird because you feel like you're pigging out, but it's not really a pigging out. It's like I've got the right amount of food. It's so filling, and it's delicious. You get pulled pork, pulled chicken. They got 22 chef-curated recipes every single week that include things like, so let's just say you're trying to, pandemic's on, you put on a few pounds, you're like, man, I got to get something low calorie. They've got low calorie. Maybe you're like, I don't eat meat. Vegetarian? Boom, they got that. Maybe you're just like, I got a family of 4 or whatever. We got kids. They got family-friendly options. They got stuff like Surf and Turf. They got craft beers, craft burger, taste tours, you name it. They've got it. Come straight to your door. You're going to be saving money as compared to going to spend money at the store, about 40%. And it's so simple. It arrives. You open the bag. What's inside of there? The food, right? And then you got the meat. And it's a puzzle piece. And you put it together. It's got the recipe. It takes about 20 minutes from the time you start assembling it to get it into the oven to the time it hits the table and you're ready to consume. Absolutely fantastic. Flexible to fit your lifestyle. You can add delivery dates, change delivery dates, skip a week, whatever you need. HelloFresh is there for you. You get started today with America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com. Use the promo code Benson. You get $80 off, including free shipping on your first box. That's promo code Benson. HelloFresh.com. $80 off, free shipping on your first box. HelloFresh.com. Promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's take a peek and see what's been trending on the old interwebs over the last few days. Champions League. Yesterday, the Premier League finished up its season. People found out who was going to be playing in the championship, the lower division, and people found out who was going to be playing elsewhere in the higher up Champions League spots. Trending. Michael Thompson won the M3M Open golf. Watch that. That was fun. Seattle. 47 arrests on Saturday. More rioting going on. Same thing with Portland. Trending. Big time. Hurricane update. Is it a hurricane? Is it tropical storms? Whatever it is, it's ugly. Alex Trebek, trending. He revealed over the weekend that he had struggled with suicidal thoughts during his battle with pancreatic cancer. Garrett Foster, an armed Black Lives Matter protester, confronted a car that drove towards the march. Apparently, the driver fatally shot him. Olivia de Havilland, trending, died yesterday, 104 years old, gone with the wind. She was the last remaining person that had anything to do with, I think, that was alive from the production. She was 104. Head on over to the magical world of Twitter, where everybody's yelling at each other for no apparent reason. So there's going to be an all-star, scaled-down Republican convention, and the Republicans have pulled out nothing but the biggest stars for this, kids. Hold on to your hats, because not since Sharknado have we seen anything this crazy. You got the Nuge, Scott Baio, Diamond and Silk, Antonio Sabato Jr. Boom! People are going, well, where's John Voight? James Woods? Where are they? Don't know. They may make a surprise appearance. You have no idea. Some of the fun things that are going on there in the magical world of Bizarro world, which is what we are right now. Bizarro. The Marlins are trending because they have canceled their home opener because of 14 Marlin players and coaches that have tested positive for the coronavirus. Trump hates women's trending. Why not? Right? It's the first thing to do. Bugs Bunny turned 80. India's banned 47 Chinese apps, including TikTok Lite. And that's, look, India and China, I don't think people realize, they have a disdain for one another that is very big, and they've gotten into more than a few skirmishes over the last several weeks, and that's not getting any better. And they feel that, hey, we don't want anything to do with what China is doing, and we think they're spying. And we're done. And of course, look, I'm going to say this. Do they spy? Absolutely. You go to any university, and they may send a lot of kids here, and some of them may come with the best intentions, but there's a lot of them that come here, and they're here for one reason. And that's not true. It's true. Stop with your political correct BS. Nobody wants to hear it. It's the reality of it. China tries to catch up by stealing everybody else's stuff. Whether it's intellectual property when it comes to business, secrets about anything else they can get when it comes to military, that's what they do. That's exactly what they do. My God, Bronco from Ford, they unveiled the Ford Bronco, was it 2 weeks ago? And a day later, the Chinese car company unveiled their vehicle that looks identical to the Bronco. That's the reality of what it is. And India wants no more part of it. And I don't blame them. I don't. We need to be smarter in the way we deal with China. And we don't. We're not smart. We're not smarter at all. We need to be way smarter with the way that we're dealing with China. It has nothing to do with the Chinese people. Has zero to do with them. It has to do with the fanaticism and the insanity of a leadership that puts 3 million Uyghurs into concentration camps and work camps, re-education camps, shave their head in a modern world that we live in, and everybody else is like, yeah. Look, I bought hangers for 52 cents. We've got to do better. We do. And we need to start holding them accountable. And I don't know if this president is it, and I sure in the hell know that it ain't freaking Biden. But the world needs to. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program. There is, get ready for this, kids. Speaking of all of this and this president, that president, Trump has an election coming up soon. How many real votes are up for grab? New poll out about how many people are up for grab, independent-wise, who are still out there dangling out there. I'm going to talk about that. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
President Trump's national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, has tested positive for COVID-19. The White House says in a statement that O'Brien has mild symptoms and has been self-isolating and working from a secure location away from the White House, adding that there is, quote, no risk of exposure to the president or the vice president. O'Brien is the highest-ranking White House official to test positive for COVID-19. In early May, the vice president's press secretary and one of the president's personal valets also tested positive.
So there you go. Somebody getting closer to the president. Oh, it's fine. Do I worry? Somebody asked me over the weekend, do you worry that Trump is going to get this? I'm like, no. Why should I worry? I mean, I'm sure he's got good doctors, is what I hear. I hear there's people around him. I think he's going to be fine. They're testing him all the time. I can guarantee you one thing. They're not waiting weeks and weeks and weeks to get stuff back. So I think he'll be okay. I do. I think he'll be all right. What he might not be all right is what takes place in November. Because we don't know. I mean, there's so much that's going to happen between now and the end of this election cycle. Between the coronavirus, what takes place in the economy, God knows what else is going to take place. We've got national unrest when it comes to race, and there's just so much stuff that can happen between now and really November 1st. Third's the vote, but, you know, who knows? And the question is, who's out there? At the end of the day, the independent voters are going to sway this thing in certain counties when it comes to the electoral side of things. How many of them are still left?
To get a sense of who's left, who's not locked in already, in our latest Wall Street Journal NBC News poll, we asked voters, what are the chances you'll support Donald Trump or Joe Biden? Exactly half of those we surveyed said there's no chance that they would support President Trump. Just 37% said there's no chance they'll support Joe Biden. That leaves 13% of the voters who are in neither of those categories. Now, obviously, this picture isn't great for President Trump, but it's still early. There are 4 months to go. It's fluid, and a lot could still change.
And I think a lot will change. And I've said it. I think both of these guys will snatch defeat from the jaws of victory on more than a few occasions. They're going to bumble around. They're going to screw up. They're going to have some good moments. They're going to have some bad moments. And I do believe that Trump, I think, is saying, if I could keep it within touching distance, if you will, and I can get him on the national stage in a debate, I think I can crush him and show everybody I deserve 4 more.
So a key question is, of these up-for-grab voters, how many of them look as if they would be available to President Trump? He might be able to win them over because he's clearly going to need them if he's going to close the gap in a race in which he's behind Joe Biden. So here's what we found about those up-for-grabs voters. They tend to be more men than women, 55% to 45%. They're slightly more Republican than Democratic. Many of them are from lower class and working class backgrounds, and a big chunk of them, 38%, are from the South.
Which bodes well for Trump. Right, that's kind of, that bodes really, really well for Trump. That's kind of the wheelhouse of what you would think he's looking for. But there's so much that's going to happen between now and November 3rd. So much. And the coronavirus is a huge one. Nate Silver.
We're 100 days from the election, and I'm putting the final touches on our presidential forecasting model. But there is, of course, an extra complication this year, which is the coronavirus. Right now, the numbers on COVID are bad. We're averaging around 70,000 cases per day, still near record highs. And 58% of Americans now disapprove of Trump's handling of COVID, a number that has been climbing since the crisis began. But it's tough to know exactly what the world will look like in November. We could plateau at the high levels we see today, or see cases decline by as much as 80 or 90%.
Yeah, because if we get to the point where it's October time and we're looking around and we've seen this thing kind of fall off, we're really close, and we know that by the first of the year we've got a real therapeutic and a top-notch vaccine that's going to work, that's on Trump's watch. And you start looking around and people are going to start saying, well, now it's about time to get the economy up and running, and that economy, I trust Trump more than I trust Biden when it comes to the economy. So now, That's if that goes that direction. If it goes the other direction.
Other models forecast things getting worse with a possible second wave in the fall. At the heart of this is a kind of a paradox. The more worried people are, the more careful they are, and that can lower future spread. Conversely, good numbers and good news can make people complacent. And there are a lot of unknowns. It's probably too optimistic to expect major progress on a vaccine by November, but you never know. And people's behavior around issues like masks can change.
That they can. And when it comes to a vaccine, today, guess what?
For the first time in the U.S., Phase 3 vaccine trials are now getting underway. 30,000 Americans are expected to volunteer for Moderna vaccine clinical trials, hoping the vaccine will be the answer to defeating the coronavirus, which has now infected more than 16 million people worldwide.
So 30,000 as of today are going to be in the program. It starts today, and this is Phase 3. So that's a good thing. Like that, I mean, if that happens, and I continue to say this, everything's a big if, because we have no idea where this thing's going. We don't. I've said the Trump and your politicians are not the people that are going to get the economy and your life back the way that we had it pre-coronavirus. That are doctors, scientists, the technology world. Those are the people that are going to get us back to where we were pre-coronavirus, and that may take some time. The benefits are going to come to those politicians, and the blame. So you get both, right? You're getting blamed for it. You get the benefits for it. So there's a lot that can take place in the coming weeks and months. All things being said, right now, Trump kind of getting boat race, but it's still early.
We found historically that when there are lots of major news events and economic disruptions, an election becomes harder to predict. So while he's clearly in trouble, I do not buy that Trump's fate is sealed. A lot could change the next 100 days. Things could get worse still for the president. But a turnaround in the COVID situation by the fall could make the election more competitive.
Yeah. And that's what Trump wants. It's one of the reasons I believe Trump really is pushing for get kids back in school. He wants things as normal as it possibly could be. He wants to feel like, because if kids are in school, kids' parents are working, there's a huge thing to go, and we need kids to be in school. My son struggles without the structure and the friendship and the relationships on top of the education side. Now, his school, we were very fortunate. His school Jack's school was great at switching to online. My little brother's schools were awful. They were a joke. And I talked to a lot of parents out there who are beyond frustrated. Don't know what's going to happen. And we don't know what's going to happen when it comes to schools, because we're still in a situation where testing's a mess, and while Trump and some state leaders across the country are pushing for schools to be open, a lot of it is on the unions and the individual school districts on whether they're going to start it or not start it or give you a hybrid or whatever.
We are looking at going back to school within a matter of weeks. I have been talking to people about testing. I know people who have been waiting weeks for results. I know LabCorp told FT this week that it's taking about 4 to 6 days for people to get results. You've said they're basically useless unless you get them within 3 days. Do you have to fix this before we can open schools safely?
I think you do. I think one of the things you need to look at in a local community is whether or not you can get test results, because if you can't get test results back in a timely fashion, you really don't have a way to detect whether there's an outbreak in the community or in the school.
Yeah, and that's been a huge issue when it comes to that, because you've got people waiting sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes a little bit longer or a little bit shorter. Either way, it's not within 48 hours. I mean, it seems to be, and it's growing. Places here like Arizona, last week we had some 60,000 samples or 60,000 people had taken their tests that were in storage. That is not timely.
And while we do need to lean forward and try to open our schools because it's important to children, we need to prevent outbreaks from happening in those schools. We can't just let infection run rampant inside the schools. And having good testing in place is going to be a critical tool. I talked to the CEO of LabCorp yesterday. They've gotten caught up. They're doing about 175,000 tests a week. They're going to be returning test results maybe within 2 or 3 days right now. Hopefully Quest will get caught up as well. But if we do have other major epidemics, other major hotspots emerge, the testing system can become strained again.
Yeah, Dr. Gottlieb there. He's right. And we need solid testing. And we need it done in a timely manner. And it's not about whether or not you have it. It's about whether or not you are going to be somebody who potentially could spread it. Because we still don't have the vaccine. We still don't have a perfect therapeutic. So it's just, are you a spreader or are you not a spreader? And more they look at it, they're starting to say it's a certain group of people that spread, usually asymptomatic. And you could have 10 people that are asymptomatic, but only one or two of them may be what they call the virus chimney, where they're the ones who are really spreading and everybody else really isn't doing anything. But if you have to wait 10 days or 7 days to get back your test, that's insane, especially if you think you've got it and they tell you we're going to, you go get the test and then you got to quarantine for 10 days. By the time you get it back, it doesn't matter. I've been there, done that. Might as well just do it yourself. Stay at home. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, tweet at us, text the program as well. Love hearing from all of you. Rough Greens, my dog Doodle bouncing around. I know Doodle's feeling better. Is the puppies will come out, we're out feeding all the critters. And Doodle used to never do that. Doodle now comes out and he plays and he runs around and he's feistier than he's ever been, and in a good way. Before he was nippy and bitey and barky because he hurt. He's got these bad fatty tumors that have all but dissipated. And he's just in a better situation. That's Rough Greens. We haven't changed anything else. We started getting him Rough Greens about 2.5, 3 months ago. Spread it on his food. And he eats dry food. And guess what? He loves it. Tastes great. And it's changed everything. It's not dog food. It brings your dog's food to life. You get 25 all-natural vitamins, digestive enzymes, 15 powerful strains of probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9 antioxidants. It is amazing. And he loves it. And it's changed his life. And it'll change your furry best friend's life as well. 14-day jump starts, only $14.95. Best thing you'll ever do for your little critter. Trust me, you're going to love it. Rough Greens can reduce or completely eliminate your dog's symptoms. Go to roughgreens.com/Chad or call 833-MyDog88. That's RUFFgreens.com/Chad or call 833-MyDog88. Rough Greens, we make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
Video games are a real problem. They're a real problem. You know why? Because they're f***ing fun. Well, I have a real problem with them. And you do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
Right.
It's like you could do like martial arts, right? You could learn jiu-jitsu. You get obsessed by jiu-jitsu, and then 3 years later, you're like an elite jiu-jitsu athlete. You're entering in competitions. You're a purple belt.
You're moving up.
Yeah.
That's Joe Rogan talking about video games. How you don't get anywhere and they become addictive. Like everything else, depends on what you do with it. I mean, everybody wants to be a pro gamer. Like, what a great thing that is. Those guys play like 10, 15, 20 hours a day. It's just like playing sports, man. When I played sports, I loved it. Like my mom used to always say, I never, ever had to ask you to practice. You were always looking to practice. You were always looking to do something. You were always looking to. And I guess you could say in many ways that soccer, because it wasn't really mainstream or popular, was kind of the video game of my day, but it gave me a lot of other stuff. And part of that's because I was on a team. Video games are much different than that. There's always that debate, but you can do so much now with video games. You don't have to, just because you play it all day, it doesn't mean you have to say, well, that's all I'm going to limit myself to and be a loser.
You're doing well. Right. You're thinking, like, I might be able to open my own school one day.
You got confidence.
Yeah, if I have 100 students and those 100 students are paying me X amount of dollars per month, I can make a living. Holy shit, I can have this would be amazing. And then you see your jiu-jitsu school, and your jiu-jitsu instructor has all these students and drives a Mercedes, and he's got a nice family, and, like, that's the future. This way, you're doing something exciting and fun, and you don't. Or you could just be playing video games. 3 years later, you could be that same kid just playing video games, waiting for the next Xbox game to come out and waste your time.
It's fun. And he admitted he's got a problem, too. But it's interesting because there is so much more you can do now with video games. It's insane what you can do. Right? And take it from me, who I've got a company that's kind of what we do is video game stuff. But my uncle is like the dude who, he and I are partners, but that's his gig. And he was one of the head designers for Blizzard. And, but it's very interesting. And I talked to him about it. He goes, oddly enough, the weird thing is we all enjoyed playing games, but all of us sucked at games. So we're designing World of Warcraft, we're designing StarCraft and Diablo, and they would tell us at times, you need to play more video games. You guys aren't playing enough games to get the feel of what it's like to play. He goes, oddly, in an odd way, because we were designers, but we didn't play that much. And he goes, we'd release these things, and these kids would be able to kick our butts. But the opportunity's there now for you to do a lot of different things in video games. So I wouldn't just say it's a waste of time, but it can become a succubus of time, if you know what I mean. And you want to earn money. Speaking of money, check out this teen. Got his first paycheck.
Got his first check. First check ever in life, boy. Gonna see what it do. See his face when you open it up, man. How's it feel opening up this first check, man?
Come on, Papa. Just open it up.
All right, man.
Because he was expected to wait. It's probably the taxes.
What would you expect more?
Because you're 18.
Jojo, what you expecting, boy? Jojo, where you going?
Oh, yeah, they took out taxes, Joe. Welcome to the world.
Welcome to the world. Taxes got taken out of his check. Not surprised. He's what? Wait, huh?
It's a part of life.
Ooh, you mad? Oh,
You only got $258?
So they took out employee Medicare and they took out your Social Security employment. So that's 406.
But I got my Social Security number.
No, you always have to pay taxes. You have to pay taxes every time you get
bro,
paid.
you just only lost like $20. Chill out. $21.
You earned $280, but they still had to take out $21.42 in taxes, which is why you have this much to spend.
So if I earned that, why can't I get it?
Listen, they take out federal tax, state tax, all this, man.
Lessons, kids, lessons. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Look on his face. Huh? Wait, what? Me? They're taking it out of mine? Oh, wait, what? I didn't know. All sounds good when it's other people's money, right? Even if it's $21. You worked hard for that $21. 323-538-2423. That is your text line. Text at me. You tweet the program as well, at Chad Benson Show. Check out Chad Benson Show TV on YouTube. And at Chad Benson Show on the gram, as the kids would say. It is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Unemployment insurance. This is so unfair. Let's just get to the heart of it. And the point of all of this is this president, I have a new name for him, Mr. Make Matters Worse. He has made matters worse from the start. Delay, denial, it's a hoax, it'll go away magically, it's a miracle, and all the rest. And we're in this situation, so it makes matters worse.
Nancy Pelosi, it's kind of awful. I think you realize that. Make matters worse. That's what you went with. No. Unemployment. What do we do? Don't know. I think that we've got to have something when it comes to unemployment from the feds, but I don't think it needs to be the $600 a week. I think there needs to be a happy medium in this, because we don't want to what? We don't want to be in a position where we're almost telling people, hey, you know what? if you have a chance to work or not work, you stay at home. I think there is a happy medium here. It's not going to make everybody happy. I think everybody thinks that we should have one size that fits perfect for everybody's needs and wants. That's not the way it is. I think another stimulus, probably cut the unemployment insurance down to $300 a week. And maybe what you do is you go $500 for 1 month, $400 for another month, $300, and do that all the way through the end of the year. And hopefully by then we'll have a vaccine and that we could get ourselves rocking and rolling and get our economy booming. Right now, no matter what Larry Kudlow says.
First of all, I don't think the economy is going south. I think it's going north. And I think that there's a bunch of indicators. Let me focus on that. I know something about that. You're in a housing boom right now. You're in a retail sales boom right now. You're in an auto car boom right now. Manufacturing, look at the ISM indexes, all are booming. New business applications are skyrocketing. Apple Mobility Index is very strong. And the jobs picture remains strong.
Now, is some of that true? Yes. But is it booming the way? No, it's not booming the way he thinks. And it's boom or bust. While we have a decent housing market for an odd reason, we also have a horrific housing market. And the evictions and the foreclosures are going to be coming starting August 1st. And I've been saying, watch August 1st. Watch August 1st. See what's happened. Some parts of the country doing better, but they suffered early.
Continuing claims, which is going to predict the July jobs number out in a week or so, are the lowest they've been in almost 3 months. I don't buy it. Now, I will acknowledge in some of these spiking hot spots, yes, absolutely, you're going to see a moderation of this recovery, no question. On the other hand, apart from Texas, Arizona, and Florida and California, where, by the way, Deborah Burke says there's some signs of stabilization. The whole Northeast is over.
Right.
Most of the Midwest is, the whole Northeast is open, most of the Midwest.
Yeah. Texas, massive. Florida, massive. California, the biggest. Arizona, the fastest growing job markets in the country. All of them. So apart from that, right? Could you imagine? It's like, all right, apart from the fact that Jordan's out, Pippen's out, Rodman's out, we should be fine. There are issues that need to be dealt with. I don't think the economy is doomed, as some people think, but I do think it's going to take a little bit longer to get on the feet, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the big reasons is the psychological aspect of this. And I'm not just talking about from the health aspect. I'm talking about the psychological aspect. If you're worried about whether or not your job, your industry is going to be open and going, that's going to cause you to hold off in spending. If you're worried about whether or not you're going to catch this, that is going to make you slow down in your spending. The psychological aspect cannot be overlooked. And I think in many cases, it's being overlooked, and it shouldn't be. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us and take a chance to check out all of our social. We've got Chad Benson TV on the old YouTube, and we've got the Instagram and everything else. Today, very exciting, because guess what's happening today here in America?
This morning, thousands of patients across the country lining up for the nation's first large-scale vaccine trial.
There is some apprehension, nervousness.
Less than 2 weeks after publishing promising results from early testing, Moderna is heading into phase 3 of its trial, taking 30,000 volunteers and injecting them with what could be the first immunization against coronavirus.
Now, the question has been from jump is how good is this going to be? Because you're going to, in theory, inject these people with something that should fight off the coronavirus. And we're hoping we find something that is that 80, 90% gives everybody that herd immunity. We take it, fantastic, super awesome. Oh, my God, it's going to be awesome. Dr. Gottlieb?
These vaccines don't look like they're going to create sterile immunity. It looks like they're going to reduce your chances of getting COVID, the disease, or COVID pneumonia. So like the flu vaccine, they'll reduce the incidence of severe outcomes, but they're not going to prevent you from getting the infection 100%, and there's still going to be people who break through and get severe disease even though they've been vaccinated, much like you see with the flu vaccine each year. And so therapeutics is still going to be important.
And the therapeutics we have now, we use them on the most desperate patients, the remdesivirs, the steroids in Britain and stuff. They're using them on people that are potentially on their way to being critical, already in a critical ICU situation. We're not using them pre-hospitalization. So we don't even know if that would work and how it would look. So he's saying maybe it worked. Well, I mean, look, at 50%, that's going to take care of a lot of this. And if we have a good therapeutic, then we'll be very much like the flu. It's a lot of what it's going to be, very much like the flu. It's endemic, not pandemic. It's not going anywhere. It's here. And I think we realize that. Now we need to figure out what are some of the other things that we can do that can mitigate this, at least right now.
This coronavirus is not going to automatically go away. It's not going to go away until we get a vaccine. No one believes we'll have a vaccine sooner and available sooner than the end of the year or early next year. So in the meantime, we all need to work together to do something really simple, like wearing a mask and practicing social distancing.
Yeah, it's that simple. That's all we're trying to do. You don't have to do anything too crazy. Wear a mask in areas where you think this would be a good place. I'm in a place where I should be wearing a mask right here. It's not a big deal. For some people, it is a big deal. Case in point, earlier this week, because people are idiots.
You're sick. Yeah. You can't be American and wear that mask. You cannot.
Wow. Customers inside a Minnesota Walmart confronted a couple wearing swastika masks this weekend. Police were called. The couple wasn't cited or arrested, but they were warned that if they return to the store, they will be trespassing. Walmart requires all its customers to wear a mask, and this just makes you wonder why. Well, the company issued a statement saying it's unfortunate the couple used the pandemic as an opportunity to create a distressing situation for others, and it does not tolerate any form of discrimination.
And by the way, they had a Trump shirt on, too, so that's a real solid look for Trump. I don't know what the message there. Are they Nazis? Probably not. Are they idiots? Probably. Do they think it's a hoax? Probably. Are they trying to make a statement? I don't know. They're idiots. That's the statement they made. It's not that. It's just, it's not. It sucks. Like, nobody likes doing it. Nobody does. Nobody's like, oh my God, this is great. I can wear a mask. Oh, ugly people might be fine with that. But other people aren't. You know, if you're not bad looking, you don't want to cover that up, right? You want like the world to see. I work hard at this. But yeah, I just looked at them and I thought, oh God, this is why we can't have nice things, people. This is why we can't have nice things. This right here. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Here's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. I do. Hello, Fresh. Nah. So, Hello Fresh. You know me. You listen to the show. Chad eats about 4 things. What do you have for dinner? My choices are Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, macaroni and cheese, corn dogs. Just simple. I have a salad, same kind of salad every day. I do eat apples and stuff like that. Oddly enough, I eat pretty good, but I eat pretty bad. It's just very limited. I have a wide scope. So I started using HelloFresh because work a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to I want to stay away from as many people as possible, which is kind of normal for me. So they said, okay, let me show you what we've got. They got low calorie. No, I don't need that. They got vegetarian. I said, no, not that I have a problem with that, but no. They said, we got family friendly options. Ding, 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 ding. HelloFresh has family friendly options. They got Surf and Turf, Craft Burger, Taste Tours, you name it. They've got it. 22 chef curated recipes each week. It comes to me, right, in this box. I open it up. There's like these paper bags. You open those. It's all recycled material. You open that up, and inside there's all the fresh goodies. And then you've got your meats. Recipe takes about 20 minutes or so from the time you put it all together, put it in the oven, and get it to your table. It is delicious. You're going to save money, 40% versus shopping, which is awesome. And you can do several different things. For me who travels, sometimes I might want to skip a week. Other times I want to add some meals for the week. When Jack's out here, things of that nature, it's flexible to fit your lifestyle. And right now, America's #1 meal kit is saying, hey, Chad, tell everybody about us. And I am. Go to HelloFresh.com. Use promo code Benson. You're going to save $80 off. And you're going to get free shipping on your first box. That's promo code Benson at HelloFresh.com for $80 off and free shipping on your first box. HelloFresh.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Boys, give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers.
One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
Uncle John marched across that bridge toward a cruel beating, not knowing that he would one day not only serve in Congress, but serve under the two-term first black president of the United States.
That's right, John Lewis. Yesterday was a memorial, the march across the bridge, and it was in the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It was moving to watch, and he was one of the big six. People that he had the conscience of he'd get into good trouble, arrested some 48 times for good trouble. One of the guys who started the Freedom Riders and did so much. And today he's going to be lying in state, and I guess at the Rotunda. People come by and pay their respects. And it was, like I said, there you sit here and you listen to what people had to say about him on both sides of it. It was, it's moving and it's real. Because he was that. Take politics away from it, which is hard to do now because we've turned ourselves into a world of nothing but politics on every single thing. And we shouldn't, but we do.
The youngest daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. telling me her Uncle John kept her father's legacy alive.
There were very few people after my father's assassination who remained true to the nonviolent philosophy and methodology. He carried it forward and legitimated it in this generation of time.
And Congressman John Lewis will continue his journey to his final resting place, departing for Capitol Hill, where he was known as the conscience of Congress.
Yeah, so, again, moving to watch. And if you could, for a second, people on the right, put away your politics in this day and age where you see somebody who has got a D by their name and you think, evil and bad. Not this guy. You don't have to agree with the politics of a lot of things, but what he did, how he fought, he should be remembered. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Major League Baseball's got serial issues, and we're not even a weekend.
Major League Baseball has a big decision to make right now, and that decision is, are they going to continue the 2020 season, and what is the cost of doing so? And beyond that, just how comfortable are the people who are involved, are the people who are playing the games in doing so, and how far are they willing to go to play baseball in 2020?
So, started Thursday, couple games. Everybody started playing over the weekend in earnest, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Here we are Monday. And guess what? Yanks, Phils, Orioles, Marlins, both canceled. Some 12 or 14 Marlins players and coaches have tested positive. So here we go. And the nightmare of sports, right? Because baseball, you do not have them in a situation where they are in the bubble. Major League Soccer, they've got that tournament going on. Everybody's pretty much in the bubble. 2 teams dropped out before it started. You look over and you take a peek at the NBA and the WNBA. They've got the wubble, which is to call the WNBA, and the NBA has their bubble. Nobody's tested positive. They're making the best out of a bad situation. The NHL, while not in a bubble, only certain cities will be hosting games, and because of that, they've done a good job of stomping this thing down. I think there's only 2 out of 800 players that have tested positive. So Major League Baseball's got a serious issue. And are they going to get this thing going, or is this thing going to come to an end fast? I don't know. You'd like to think. I mean, I watched some of the games this weekend just a bit. I'd rather watch golf, to be honest with you. I enjoy it more. But I watched some of it. I'm just curious. It's weird without the noise, and the piped-in noise isn't as good. And the empty stadiums. Like I said, the European soccer teams have done a much better job of the empty stadiums and how they've done stuff than baseball. So, I don't know. Now what? NFL's next. How is that going to look? Training camps get underway. You got mostly the rookies here in the next couple of days, or some have already reported. And then you're going to have the veterans coming in the next several days. And what exactly is that going to look like when players start testing positive? Because it's going to happen. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, text the program as well. Check out the Instagram. Go to Chad Benson Show TV on the YouTube. Put a video up there every other day. Some neat stuff as well coming. So it starts to grow. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
For the first time in the U.S., Phase 3 vaccine trials are now getting underway. 30,000 Americans are expected to volunteer for Moderna vaccine clinical trials, hoping the vaccine will be the answer to defeating the coronavirus, which has now infected more than 16 million people worldwide.
Yep, 4 million here. It's killed about 145,000. I don't know what that we'll ever know the real number on any of that stuff, but so it starts today, 30,000 people. Some given the placebo, some will be given the vaccine. I think it comes in 2 shots, about 28 days apart. And then it's a sit and wait and see what happens. And then the other question is, let's just say all is good in these upcoming Phase 3 trials. Then what?
We're talking late this year, next year, before the FDA can make this adjudication.
Meaning the FDA will approve it later this year or early next, and then it's how fast can we roll this thing out? If it works. Originally, what was it? 42, and there was like 1,500, and now we're up to 30,000. So we will see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. He's controversial. He's entertaining. He says what he means, and that is what's true about both of these guys. Dave Portnoy, the guy who founded Barstool Sports, sat down and chatted with Trump. It's very interesting.
Do you love doing Twitter?
There are times when I love it.
Yeah.
Too much sometimes, right?
Yeah. What happens to this Twitter account? Is it yours when it's over?
Well,
do you lose
mine.
those?
It's mine, and I don't know if I'll ever use it again, but it certainly was good. It's a platform, look, you know, Dave, that we have a voice. We have a very big voice. When you have the kind of numbers that we have, you're able to get the word out in an honest word, and that's important. So it's been very important for me.
Yeah. What will you? I'll probably never tweet again. I don't think you know how not to tweet. I don't think you do. But here's something shocking and interesting.
Do you sometimes, because I follow you on Twitter, and I know I do you ever tweet out and be like, wake up, oh man, I wish I didn't send that one out?
Too often.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be in the old days before this, you'd write a letter and you'd say, this letter's really bad. You put it on your desk and then you go back tomorrow and you say, oh, I'm glad I didn't send it, right? But we don't do that with Twitter, right? We put it out instantaneously. We feel great. And then you start getting phone calls. Did you really say this? I say, what's wrong with that? And you find a lot of things.
So he does regret it. Oh, of course he does. He doesn't say sorry. That's the closest you're going to get to sorry for him. That is as close as you'll get for sorry is, yeah, you know what? I do some stuff that pisses me off. I shouldn't do, or things I've said in the past.
You know what I find? It's not the tweets, it's the retweets that get you in trouble.
You've been caught with retweeting. People be like, oh, you just retweeted this crazy person. So you don't even look. You just press the retweet. Well, you just fire from the hip.
You see something that looks good, and you don't investigate it, and you don't look at what's on the helmet exactly, right, which is in miniature, and you don't blow it up. And sometimes it's, but I have found almost always, it's the retweets that get you in trouble.
Yeah, of course, because you see something you like and somebody defending you, and then you go and you retweet it, and you don't stay and watch it till the end because you're, like Dave Portnoy said there, you know, guy founder of Barstool Sports, says you fire from the hip. But then they got into some serious stuff, including some Fauci talk.
So I'm a sports guy.
Good.
Like the company that bought us, Penn National, they're a gambling company, so sports gambling is a big part of what we do. I switched to the stock market, actually, day trading. So Fauci is on my X list because every time he talks and says the country should stay inside, my stocks tank. So I don't like that aspect of it.
No, he'd like to see it closed up for a couple of years, but that's okay because I'm president. So I say, well, I appreciate your opinion. Now give me another opinion, somebody, please.
You overrule.
No, well, you have to.
Fauci's in his... Look, Fauci is a very interesting character. Over the weekend, Sinclair Broadcasting was going to run some psychopathic thing trying to tie Fauci into the coronavirus and a vaccine, and then they decided to back off of it and not do it. And I'm just like, my God, you wonder how this stuff gets started. It's just people who are insane. It's like, how do you go from point A to point B to get to this point? It's amazing how many people are willing to buy into crazy stuff or don't buy in at all for any of these things. Case in point, what's going on in Portland? This is Jerry Nadler. You know who Nadler is? The Nad Dog.
It is true. There's violence across the whole country. Do you disavow the violence from Antifa that's happening in Portland right now? There's riots.
That's a myth that's being spread only in Washington, D.C.
About Antifa in Portland?
Yes.
Sir, there's videos everywhere online. There's fires and riots. They're throwing fireworks at federal officers. DHS is there. Look online.
Antifa's a myth.
Yeah, Antifa's a myth in Portland. Meanwhile, the whole city is on fire, and they're trying to burn down the courthouse.
Antifa's not a myth. They'll tell you they're not a myth. Are you ignorant? Or are you lying? Portland's a disaster right now. It is, and it's not getting any better. It's not getting any better at all. It's getting worse, and it's kind of embarrassing.
Look, if you don't have law and order in this country, we're going to lose these battles real quick. And what we're seeing going on in Portland is just a shame for our whole country. This is not who we are. We're losing the battle, and we got to step it up. So I appreciate what the president's doing, sending reinforcement in, because it's quite evident they need help. Mayors don't own the cities. They don't own the federal buildings. They don't own the state buildings that are in there. And those public buildings belong to the people, not them personally. And you should do everything in the world to protect that.
So I've had a different look at Portland than a lot of people. And I say, oh, this is the government you get. This is the government you want. I don't know what Portland's end game is. I've never really known what Portland's end game is. It can't be just night after night of chaos and lunacy and rioting and looting and trying to chop things down. And now they're throwing, trash over into the federal side of it. That cannot be what you want. But this is the government you wanted. And people say, well, the feds should be in there practicing and protecting the courthouse. Do you really care? Did you care about that? Well, we're going to have to pay. Who are we? How much crap do we pay for as is? A lot of crap. So slow your roll there. This is a government you want, though, right? Portland, Seattle, this is a government you want? A government that turns a blind eye, allows you to do anything, run around like petulant children and break things and light things on fire? Well, the feds need to get out. By the way, there's feds in just about every major city across the country. They didn't just show up yesterday. They've been there for a lot of different reasons. Remember all those big gangland things that they did all those years ago? Yeah, what do you think did that? Who do you think took down who went after the Klan? I think that was the local? Local wasn't doing that. Why? Because local they had no chance to do anything. Because local was part of it. So there's feds everywhere. So it's not like just sent them in. And over the weekend, or Friday night, the federal appeals court denied Oregon the right to have the feds tossed out. because they came and they said, oh, they're here and they're snatching people off the street. And they said, well, you have evidence of that? Well, we have these two. Okay. But they said that they were a part of something earlier and that they were threatening officers and tried to burn down the building. And Oregon said, well, they're not wearing uniforms. Well, they're wearing uniforms. It's just not like, I mean, I know they've got the badge number and it says police, and the judge is like, and? Tell me more. Tell me what else you got. Like, well, we don't really have anything else. And the judge says, well, they can stay then. So they get to stay. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. We can do better. We should be doing better. But it's a nightmare there right now. And I don't even know what they want. That's the weird thing. I don't even know what they want. I was reading today about, like, what is it that the protesters want? Well, it started out with George Floyd, but now we're going on 60 days. So that's since, been usurped and angry, pissed off suburbanite white kids are angry. So what is it you want? You want to get rid of the police altogether. We get it. You want to have, no rules? All right, anything else? You want to go after and destroy all, capitalism. Okay, so what do you really want? Because I'm asking 100 of you, and 100 of you give me different answers. As for Chicago, a little bit different. Mayor Lightfoot doesn't want the feds there, but also realizes the police are asking for it because this has a lot to do more with guns, the illegally brought in from other states, as well as the giant gang problem they have in a small area in Chicago that's making a lot of news.
Well, I mean, that's classic Trump hyperbole. I sent him a letter on Monday outlining the very specific things that the federal government is uniquely qualified to help with, starting with common sense gun control. The fact of the matter is, our gun problem is related to the fact that we have too many illegal guns on our street, 60% of which come from states outside of Illinois.
But you seem to think that if there was common sense gun reform, which we can argue about it all the time, try to just walk in and just, hey, I'm going to go buy a handgun. It's willy-nilly. It's no big deal. Can you get around some straw buyers and things like that? Of course. But the reality is we think in this day and age that if we were to magically do whatever it is Democrats want, that all of these things that are happening in cities like Chicago, where they have an area in Chicago which is so dangerous and violent. I was joking. It's like Beirut in the 80s. That's going to go away. It's not going to go away. You have 170,000 plus gang members who are fighting over turf. There's too much money, too much drugs, too much desperation to say magically, if we had common sense gun reform, that tomorrow that's going to change. It's not. What are you doing to fix the areas in the long term? What are you doing to give people a 50,000-foot shot that says, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is how you're supposed to be doing it. This is where we need to go, and this is what we're going to do to help. It's ridiculous. But Chicago, Portland, Seattle, different. Different indeed. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, text the program. Purple! Sleep so well. Got my amazing bed. The Purple Grid. It's technology, baby. It's what it's all about. Instantly adapts your body's natural shape, sleep style. They always say purple's for every body, no matter how you sleep. So it's got 2,800 open air channels, and it's got this temperature neutral gel. It's amazing. So you never sleep too hot, never sleep too cold. Because many of us have woken up and we're freezing, or you wake up and your shirt's sweaty, and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't get comfortable. You have to worry about that with Purple. It's incredible. Software, you need it. Right? Like, I need it soft here. And guess what? Firmware, you need it. It's amazing. It is incredible. Ultra durable. Never going to sink or lose shape. Comes with a 100-night free trial. It's a risk-free trial. So you got anything to worry about. You don't like it, send it back. It's that simple. Free shipping, free returns. Experience the next evolution of sleep. Go to purple.com/Benson. When you use the promo code Benson, save $150 off any Purple mattress order $1,500 or more. Purple.com/Benson to save that $150. Purple.com/Benson. Terms apply. Chad Benson Show.
no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
This is the worst case scenario coming to life in the first weekend of the season. Let's remember, just a couple days ago, there were all the good feelings of opening day and what a baseball season could mean. And now Rob Manfred, the commissioner, has the question, do we even continue with this? And if so, how do we prevent something like this from happening again? Because it started with one player testing positive about 72 hours ago. Then yesterday, 3 more players tested positive. And when the tests were done last night on the rest of the club, 8 of them came back positive among the players. That is 40% of their roster.
Yeah. So the Marlins game, their home opener, canceled against the Orioles. They're still in Philly, from what I understand. The Phillies-Yankees game canceled. Nightmare for Major League Baseball. And why is this something we're talking about? Well, first of all, just started. But secondly, a lot of us are looking to the fall. And we're hoping and praying that football kicks off and that we get that something that we look forward back to, because it has been a trying time, to say the least. And I don't know. And I don't know what baseball does. NBA, NHL's done a much better job. But baseball, for some reason, it's a nightmare. And it's just spreading and spreading and spreading. And I don't know what's going to take place in the coming week or so. But this is not a good situation at all. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us and text the program as well. Today, a big day, vaccine time in America, trial-wise.
Moderna co-founder and chairman Nobar Afeyan says what they're looking for is whether their vaccine kills the virus once the virus enters the body, sort of like the flu shot does.
The same way as someone who already has seen the virus might, if reinfected, be able to effectively shut it down.
But they're also trying to determine if their vaccine will be able to prevent someone from even contracting the coronavirus in the first place.
Whether it's going to be completely eliminated so that we get very, very little effect of the infection once vaccinated.
That's why they need so many volunteers at this stage, 30,000, to effectively gauge how people react to the vaccine and whether it's effective.
Yeah, and so one of the things they wanted people to make sure they do is that you are living your life normally, meaning you're in a position where you're not home all day and you're not hunkered down, because they want you to get exposed to it. Because if you're not exposed to it, what good is it if you stay in your house? So you get 2 shots, I think, 28 days apart. And how good would it be? Dr. Gottlieb said earlier, don't know how effective it's going to be when it comes to getting this. What the hopes are that it would be great if it stopped you from getting it at all. But by the looks of it, you probably will be in a situation where it will mitigate it to the point where you may not even know you have it, or if you do have it, the symptoms themselves will be very minimal, and you wouldn't develop some of those gnarlier symptoms down the road that cause you to eventually have pneumonia and potentially die. But we're still a long way away from that. But at least we're in a position now where we're moving forward, and we have arrived at the 30,000, which means we are one step closer to getting to the point where a vaccine may be real by the first of the year. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Happy birthday, Bergs.
What's up, Doc? Happy birthday, Bugs Bunny, the world's most famous rabbit's 80 years old Monday. Bugs made his debut in the 1940 animated short A Wild Hare, opposite his classic nemesis, Elmer Fudd.
What's up, Doc? There's a rabbit down there.
Bugs Bunny since appeared in hundreds of cartoons and specials. He was the first cartoon to get his own postage stamp and remains a beloved cultural icon to this day.
What a maroon. What an ignoramus.
Yeah, so what's interesting about that is, of course, they're back now, and it's very politically correct. And Elmer Fudd doesn't have a gun, but he has some sort of sheath or something where it looks more ominous than ever. So I'm like, wait a minute. He doesn't have a shotgun, but instead he has this giant thing that he looks like he's going out to cut down wheat. It's like, really? That's what you guys are doing there. 80 years old today. Over the weekend, AC/DC's Back in Black turned 40, and of course, Caddyshack turned 40. Man, we knocked it all out today. We got vaccines, we got political talk, we talked unrest, Major League Baseball. We are a smorgasbord of fun, kids. You do not get the same thing over and over again. There are other shows that will give you one thing over and over. That is not what we do. Follow along at Chad Benson Show. Check out YouTube, Chad Benson Show TV. Like and share. Starting to grow that there as well. Check out the Instagram. Have yourself a blessed, amazing rest of your day. We'll talk to you later. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.